And the Super Bowl matchup is here. But we are not going to talk about that so much. It's been beaten to death about the Super Bowl here. Welcome back to another episode of Cinco Squad, where, yes, we are going to talk Super Bowl, but tune in next week for our Super Bowl episodes because it has been beaten up left and right, up and down, east, west, northwest, wherever you want to go. But, yes, we have the Seahawks playing the Patriots in Super Bowl. Couple of odd two ends of the spectrum games that they were. But Red Rifle will support the Gingers and represent USC in the Super Bowl. So what was crazy about that fact is that he's the first ever USC quarterback to start in the Super Bowl.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's wild. The thing is, though, when I thought about it after I read that, I was like, you know what? I actually, now that I think about it, can't remember a USC quarterback I thought would have started in the Super Bowl.
True.
Because Carson never made it with the Bengals, the Cardinals, or the Raiders.
It was more that positional players that stood out.
Exactly. Like Leinart didn't make it. Even further back, we thought somebody would.
Andy Dalton.
He was TCU.
He was TCU.
But yeah, even farther back, you would think somebody from USC would have ended up starting the Super Bowl, but I guess not.
And Marcus Allen is still there.
Like I said, we're not going to talk about football because football has been king all year, but we got a lot of college hoops going on. We got a great matchup right now in Nebraska. First, Michigan, go blue. Nebraska.
Go blue? You're not a Michigan basketball fan. Get out of here.
I'm not a Michigan basketball fan, but I respect them.
No, you're not a Michigan basketball fan. You don't get to say go blue.
I can say go blue all I want.
You don't like their basketball team. That's bullshit.
What?
You don't cheer for their basketball team, so you can't.
Why is it on then? Syracuse basketball playing right now.
Well, why is the Syracuse game on?
Because we can't. Actually, I can't get it.
All
so,
right,
you know what time it would be. The biggest thing was that you bring that up with like Michigan basketball being at the top of the ranks. The rivalries have kind of like left, right? Like it feels like the rivalries aren't as potent. Even the Duke UNC rivalry still doesn't seem like the rivalry in college basketball anymore. They hype it up on College Game Day. And that's another point that it is. College Game Day isn't as hyped. They used to have College Game Day all the way through from non-conference to conference. Now they just do the conference play, and they don't start until after a few weeks in. So the first College Game Day was last weekend. I think it was in Lubbock, Texas, and for Texas Tech. So my thought process on this is like, do you think the rivalries are gone, true or false?
Yeah, no, they are. Because when I think about it, the first thing that comes to mind is just movement in general. You have all these coaches leaving schools before they really establish any culture in a program. And then you have the transfer portal and all of these players constantly leaving, so you can't become invested in not just the program matchups, because the programs are always going to be there, obviously, but invested in players in the program's matchup. Speaking from personal, the UNC-Duke rivalry. There's a lot of guys on Duke that I don't like. I grew up not liking. Obviously, I hate Christian Laettner. That's kind of bred into you as a UNC fan, but Grayson Allen.
But you weren't born for Christian Laettner. How can you hate him?
I said I hate Christian Laettner.
You can hate Jay Williams.
I hate Christian Laettner is bred into you. You are naturally not supposed to like Christian Laettner. My guy I always talk about was Grayson Allen. Thing is now between the one and done freshmen and all of the transfers, there's not really a whole lot of time. There's 2 games a year, maybe 3 if they meet in the ACC tournament or NCAA tournament, that you really have to try to get used to certain guys on the team. So I don't have a dislike for players on the team because they're not there long enough. And I can imagine vice versa for Duke fans. So I just feel like there's not time to get invested in these player rivalries amongst the programs.
I mean, I don't know. I look at the program. Like, the program is kind of faulted at that point, right? Like, Syracuse basketball used to be a very big, prominent team in college hoops. That a lot of people look at me sideways now when I say that, which makes sense because the last, 10 years have been very mediocre, if not subpar. But I remember teams of 25, 29 28 wins a season is normal for Syracuse basketball. So I think the play and the coaching has deteriorated. The hype of the program has deteriorated. And like we always say, football is king. Jay, like where do you see like college basketball? Like you and I are big college basketball fans. Like you and I are probably like the biggest ones I've ever met was you. And I think vice versa. So you don't get hype about college basketball as you used to. When I first met you, it was like you couldn't pull you away from the TV on Saturday.
Yeah.
Now it's like you can't even sit in front of the TV on Saturday.
Nope.
So what about it has changed for you?
I just don't like the fact that players don't take on a personal sort of, I don't want to say the word hatred, but develop that sense of pride for a particular institution and school that they're going to claim as theirs. And then take on what Mikey said as we're raised like this. We don't like this team and we never will. So we're going to go at it like it's a national championship game when we play them twice a year, or in our case, when it was Louisville, we play them once a year. And when we get that shot, we're going to give it everything. And you could see the level of intensity go up. I mean, the mid-90s UNC Duke games that I used to watch were fantastic, to the point where it's like you look forward to those, like I said, even more than a national championship game, because you knew how much was at stake just for those teams having bragging rights. And of course, if one team could sweep the other, then it was almost like, hey, our season's complete. Like at this point, yeah, we would love to win the tournament, but beating Duke twice or beating North Carolina twice is a complete season. And you don't see that because it's not so much between Duke and North Carolina. It's more of the SEC shuffle where teams are going to their opposing teams that should be their rivals. So players are leaving Tennessee to go to Florida, or leaving Kentucky to go to Ole Miss, or vice versa, or whatever it is. And because these guys don't care about the rivalries, you can't be on one team one year and then the next you're playing for the other team. How can you just switch up like that, right? You're not going to get into the rivalry factor. They're chasing the money. The money is all that counts. They don't care about the rivalries anymore. Not even the schools, like the schools themselves, there'll be a hype up week. When in Kentucky, we'd hype it up, hey, Tennessee week or whatever it is. And it was a big deal on campus. I don't even think that's a big deal anymore. So it's unfortunate because it's almost like the excitement within the season was built around this. And there's almost no excitement until we get to February, early March in this tournament time.
Well, I think there's a difference too now. There's the realignment that's killed the rivalries in college basketball. There's a lot of teams that are, I mean, the Big East isn't even close to being what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely, like, look at the ACC. It's got, 20 teams? The Big 12 has
Stanford,
20.
Georgia Tech game.
You got all these teams that are, like, top of the program. So it's, a lot of times it's hard to build the rivalries because so many teams are pretty good. I mean, I think inside school-wise, like, if you went to that school, you have the alumni base, they're still holding it strong, but I don't think the kids there, and I think gambling has ruined it. Gambling has ruined sports, has ruined.
The gambling was always around. You mean the access to everybody having such easy access?
Gambling was always around. No, it wasn't. It wasn't around legally. It was around illegally. So you were putting in side bets and doing things like that on the side. But it wasn't legally like it is now. It has ruined. Like we have high schoolers right now doing betting, and that shouldn't be it. Like, they don't give a shit about, they care if their parlay hits. And I think that's ruined sports. And it's like, obviously you and I big gamble and we put a few dollars here and there, but that's what's ruined rivalries. That's what's ruined sports in general, because people don't care about the game or the team. I don't think it has anything to do with transfers. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with gambling. Gambling is the main issue, because when a parlay hits, and let's just say Stanford takes it away, I'm going to pay attention to Stanford regardless if my team is Syracuse, because they just made me money, right? What has Syracuse done? It's like, that's how kids are viewing it now, where it's all my parlay hit, which is good because it keeps you involved with the game because you want to watch to see how that team does. But half the time they're not even watching the game. So I think there's a lot of different aspects to it, and I don't think you're wrong in thinking that the transfer portal has hurt it, but there's always been the transfer portal. Kids have always left. Ever since Melo, they were leaving one and dones and leaving schools, and they were still the rivalries in the early 2000s. So it's like the gambling part of sports has ruined it entirely.
Well, yeah, but the transfer portal and one and dones have been around, but it hasn't been entire teams. Right now, we've got entire programs that are leaving.
The sub-conferences have.
There's three.
I think you guys are just not used to seeing the major conference teams lose out of schools,
and that's a factor. The major,
but like this is nothing to like an Idaho, a Portland.
No, listen, there's only 4 teams in the entire NCAA that returned people opposed to the freshmen obviously coming in, the seniors graduating. Only 4 rosters remained. It is across the entire country. Nebraska,
but I'm saying like
Navy, the Virginia Military Institute, and what was the other one we were discussing? There was one more.
Harvard and Miami of Ohio.
Yeah, there's 4 teams in the entire country. So it is across the board. So I think what Mikey's saying is it went from maybe there were 10% disgruntled athletes and 10% went to the portal. Now it's 98%.
But I'm saying, like, this is nothing new to the smaller conferences. They were losing kids every single year, at least 4 to 5.
But
when I was at Bonaventure,
the whole team.
At Bonaventure, they lost 6 guys my junior year. They lost 6 guys off the team. The next year after that, that's pretty much half the basketball team, right?
But that wasn't the 90s. What we're talking about is when.
But I'm just talking about just right now. You guys are just talking about in general. Like I'm saying, transfer portal has always been a thing for the smaller schools. So the smaller schools have been losing it and turning around rosters all the time.
The smaller schools.
That's what I'm trying to say. So but those are the ones that make up. You said who cares? Miami of Ohio is number 1, number 2 in the country.
Who cares about the smaller school rivalries? We know that we only care about the bigger school rivalries. So on
right,
topic
but that's
right
what I'm trying to say is
on
like
topic we're saying that kids weren't so hasty to leave big programs. If you got into a Duke or if you got into a Kentucky, if you got into a UCLA, you're not trying to leave that school unless you have a huge fallout with the coach. It's like I got into my dream school. That doesn't exist anymore. They're not staying because the dream school thing is long gone and forgotten.
But that's what I'm trying to say is like I think what's killed that is been gambling. Gambling is significantly, it's the access to it. You can sit there and say, yeah, gambling's only been around, but it's been not been around legally. Right now, it's legally able to at this disposal right here. I can sit here on this show right now and place a $5 parlay if I wanted to on a team, and I could be like, oh, well, let's go Idaho win. Hopefully they win. Like that is what I believe has ruined college sports, and you see a lot of teams like not be as hyped anymore. So that's been a major issue. But as we continue, like let's keep it pushing. Talk about Nebraska or Miami of Ohio. Like, who's got the better story? Like, who's got the better storyline this year? I mean, Nebraska came from nowhere. Miami of Ohio came from nowhere in the MAC. So, what was more impressive?
I honestly would say it's Miami of Ohio simply for partially what we just talked about, how it is a smaller conference, smaller program that could very easily have lost some of its better players to bigger programs. But they are one of the 4 that have returned their entire roster outside, again, of seniors and freshmen coming in. And they're still going to be, I think they're battling a lot more doubt where it's, okay, Nebraska, they're not usually one of the top basketball programs in recent memory, but they're still in a major conference. They're still considered in one of the better conferences in college basketball. Miami of Ohio, it's going to be looked at like, oh, yeah, you're fantastic for the MAC. You're going to win the MAC and then lose in the first or second round of the tournament. No, this Miami of Ohio team could shock a lot of people, and it could catch a lot of teams off guard in the tournament. I fully think they're going to win the MAC the way they're playing right now. And be careful if you have to play them because they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder and they're going to play like an underdog no matter what. And I'm very impressed with what they've been able to put together as a program.
I mean, look at these wins by Nebraska, though. Oklahoma, Kansas State, Creighton, Wisconsin, Illinois, number 13. Illinois is going to be a tournament team. Michigan State, Ohio State, potential tournament team. Indiana, I don't know much about their program. Oregon's always up there. Northwestern. I mean, then they're taking number 3 Michigan to the wire right now at halftime. I think that's the better story because you're actually playing in a better conference. I think that makes it a lot better when you're in Miami, Ohio. We see these type of schools happen all the time in these smaller conferences where they'll play great basketball and they'll be like a St. Joe's a few years ago or like 25 years ago with, what's his name? Homeboy from Magic. Jameer Nelson. Mm-hmm. So it's like we've seen this from a storybook program. It's been a while since we've seen a team of Nebraska who's sat at the bottom of the ranks in the Big Ten for years.
And Big 12.
And Big 12, you're right. That too. And now is beating these juggernauts, and Wisconsin is a juggernaut. I mean, Illinois, Michigan State going, and I think it was at Michigan. No, it was home against Michigan State, but still, they're at Michigan right now, and they're taking Michigan to the wire. Then Michigan, it was just a 2-point game when Jay walked in here, and now it's a 7-point game. Nebraska's winning. I think that's a better story than Miami of Ohio. Okay, now we got the unsung hero. Now they're going to play this this small town school going to do big things. It's like, yeah, they probably will, but I like this story a lot better because you're playing harder teams. It's proving that they're playing harder teams.
Yeah, I think both of y'all make great points. I think the most impressive of the two is Nebraska because they're doing it against almost tournament caliber competition every week. One of the teams they play per week is possibly going to compete to be in the tournament. So it's the more impressive of the two. But the better story is Miami of Ohio because I imagine the coach gets in the locker room. They lose the conference title game to go to the tournament by a field goal. They miss the game-winning shot. So you have these young men in the locker room. Their hearts are broken. It's probably one of the worst nights of their lives, even though they had, they got as close as you could get. And the coach rallies them and says, hey, guys, I got a plan for next year. What if we run this back? Would you guys stay if we could run this back and we go just exact revenge on everybody in our conference and we go show people that we're the real deal? And to me, that's just an awesome story. Obviously, they bought in. They brought in one good transfer portal player from Rutgers, I think he was the fourth option of Rutgers last year, and Rutgers had two of their guys went in the top 5 in the draft. So Rutgers is a great team last year. So they bring in one player to really help cement them, bring in that top athlete that can kind of score the ball at will. And this team returns everybody. And to me, that's awesome. You just don't see it anymore. I love this. Let's go back and run it again and show everybody who we really are kind of story. So like Mikey said, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they fall in the tournament. Cross my fingers they run through that conference, but I think it's going to be the kind of thing that the committee still lets them in as a high seed if they end up losing in the finals of their conference tournament. But I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to run the table.
Yeah, I mean, it takes one loss, right? So that's the thing, right? Nebraska can afford to lose and still make the tournament. Miami of Ohio cannot afford to lose. And they almost lost the other night to Buffalo, 105-102. So, yes, they are a great story, but it's a great story until it comes crashing down and they lose in the conference championship game, and then they're not making a tournament.
I hope they do, though.
I would imagine of a 68 teams that we go back and we bitch and complain about the college football playoff, which we'll dive into that in just a few seconds. But out of 68 teams, how do you not see they're not 68 of the best team, right? So as we pivot from that, I just want to talk briefly about the new college football playoff format. I just heard it. It was last week when it came out. I know we're going backwards, but talking about the new format where the Big Four will get it, the championship winner will get into there. So this year, Duke would have been in there. And for instance, Notre Dame would have gotten a bid. Miami would have been the team out.
Which is crazy to think because they almost won the national championship.
But Miami was one of the best 12 teams left. Mm-hmm. But like Mike alluded to in his video, they're still two not Power 5 schools.
I thought right?
They've decreased it to at least one group of 5 conference champion. Whoever is the best ranked group of 5 conference champion will still get in.
You can't continue to expand a playoff, a format, and not have this right? This is like you're just piecing it together every single year, and you're not letting it breathe a little bit. You let at least a four-team one breathe for a few years. Then you went 12. Now you want to expand it to 16, but the Big Ten wants 24. Okay, enough. But I know exactly what they're doing here, and I said this a few months ago. What they're doing is there's no football this weekend. They want the championship game to be on this Saturday so that there's football to be watched. And then they're going to move the Pro Bowl till after the season, after the season.
Or just get rid of it.
No, I think they'll just keep it because it's still a moneymaker. People are still going. People buying tickets. They're not expensive, but they're still buying tickets. So that's exactly what they're doing. Like with the 16 and the 24, they're just expanding it, but you are not getting it right. You're not putting in the 12 best teams. I'm sorry, but I agree with Mike. I don't want to see JMU get their ass kicked. Congrats on a 13-0 season, but I don't want to see this shit. I don't want to continue to see this every single year where we're seeing a team like Notre Dame, like Miami
in that
last
case.
year.
Yeah.
Miami last year gets snubbed out of the playoff because this what the expansion was supposed to mean is that the first couple weeks won't affect you. But now it's affecting teams. It's affecting people, and it's driving me nuts because aren't you supposed to get better throughout the season?
Yep.
Wouldn't you say Notre Dame was probably the top 10 best team in the country?
Yeah.
Like, they were right there all year, so why aren't they in? And I know I'm going backwards in this, but it still doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and I keep saying, I don't care if you win your conference championship if you are 8-5 Duke. You're not one of the top 12 teams in the country.
Well, that I disagree with. I do think that they've got it right on the 4 championship teams because that game actually means something. The game actually Duke got in. Duke did what they had to do to get in. So I do agree with the championship. What I didn't agree is that Duke winning and then somehow Miami coming in backdoor, who didn't play in that game. Duke deserved to get in because they played. Who knows what Duke would have done? Duke could have went all the way in. Right?
I mean, possibly. I'm just saying, like, in general, if you're an 8-5 conference champion and you are kicking out a 1 or 2 loss team because they didn't win a conference championship, when you yourself as the committee, because they insist on putting out these rankings along with the bracket, rank them in the top 12 of the best teams. Duke still wasn't. They won the conference championship, and they still weren't ranked in the top 12 teams.
But I still think that it should be I really do think the conference championship.
So you're kicking out one of the top 12 best teams that the committee says is one of the top 12 best teams.
Yes, in that sense, I like that factor because why are we having that championship Saturday then?
I understand that.
There's no point. And it is because it's a Power 5 school. At the end of the day, it's a Power 5 school. I mean, a Power 4 school. Right, we have Power 4 schools. We hold these conferences to a higher standard, and because Miami, let's just say, didn't get into the conference championship game, they should have done more. They should have not lost those games. They shouldn't have lost their conference championship games.
Right, but what I'm saying is this: the committee themselves that are putting these teams in, right, admitted, without saying it, that the ACC was a bad conference this year because they put a team that didn't, like you said, even play in the conference championship instead of the winner.
But I don't mind that.
They said the ACC sucked.
Well,
other than Miami.
But it still was a Power 4 conference. I don't care if they sucked this year or not. The Big Ten's had years where the entire Big Ten sucked except Michigan.
Right, so don't put the Big Ten in.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with the conference champion. Why are we having championship Saturday? There's no point in that.
Correct.
And I've said that many times. So why are we having that? What are we doing? What are we doing right now?
It's a trophy. That's it. But it shouldn't. But I guess that's my thing. If a conference has a shitty year, don't put them in.
I mean, then Miami wouldn't have got in. Miami deserved to get in.
Miami did deserve to get in, but now, that's what I'm saying, though. Now you're going to kick Miami out because they didn't play in their conference championship when you aren't going to rank.
Well, but then they have to realign it because even if you look at the Big Ten, the Big Ten is so heavy biased to one side.
Well, it's one conference.
When they first did it, right? Like when they first did it and you had it as, even the SEC, if you think of East and West, like it's very aligned towards the West now being more dominant than the East. So you'd have to align it if you're going to do it that way, with how certain conferences decide who's going to the championship game. But I feel that this more stems towards the fact that you have to just use the eye test. Did JMU and Tulane, were they a good representation for those other conferences? And the answer is no. So if they weren't a good representation, you have to go back and say, we didn't get this right. If you're going to get it right, you know what you do? If you want those 2 schools in, then make that a big deal bowl game, right? And call it like whatever you want to call it, right? Like Power 5 Bowl or whatever, sponsored by whoever, right? And it's the next best 2 teams that could have made it, and you make a big deal out of that because a JMU Tulane game might have been very entertaining. And that's the point. The point is to try and put together competitive games. It's almost like we're getting to this, NBA, let as many people in as possible. Let's keep expanding. Next year there's going to be 12 and only 3 teams don't make it to the playoffs. And now, like, what the hell is a regular season even worth? So the more you keep saying we'll just let more mediocre in, is the more you're saying that our product, when it's supposed to be great, it's okay if a couple mediocre teams get in. That makes no sense. You either draw the hard line to me, it should be a hard line of this is where you no longer qualify. If you have more than 4 losses, you will not be considered because you're not in the argument anymore to be one of the best teams in America if you lost 4 regular season games. I don't give a shit how slow you started. That's on you. If you win 8 in a row and you start 0-4, you should have got your shit together in the first month of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth, but it works for college basketball. The conference champion goes ahead and wins and gets an automatic bid
because it's 67.
I understand, but like they win the tournament, so I think that.
But isn't that exciting though? It's an exciting thing, right? And basketball, you can play multiple games in a week. You can't keep adding to football to make it that exciting.
But I like the fact that we had that in the ACC, and that was actually a pretty good game. Actually, the ACC championship game. It was a pretty decent game, and it was an exciting comeback. Who knows what Duke would have done in the playoff? Probably got their ass kicked, but I mean, regardless of it all, let's keep it pushing. It looks like your boy Mac McClung. Actually, hold on 1 second. I want to just ask you straight up: McCarthy, good hire or bad?
Hometown boy obviously has a ton of respect.
20 years.
Has a ton of respect for I think they've realized that that's no longer the model anymore. So I think they're up with the times now and saying, okay, everybody's with this 5 to 10 year plan. We kind of have to now make sure our succession plans are within 5 to 10 years. Is he a good hire for now? Yes, he's a good hire for now because you get somebody who's allured with the franchise. They're going to do everything they can to keep the franchise where he saw it as a young kid who cheered for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. There's that personal connection, so maybe he cares a little bit more. And he's going to be respected because he's been there and done that. You're not bringing in a newer guy and people trying to figure him out. He knows what to do with a team, and he knows how to help a team compete. I mean, we hate him, but who's the last Cowboys head coach to actually be in the playoffs and compete in the playoffs, even though the decisions and we know the freaking time clock management is abysmal. Okay, that's his biggest.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like 30 years.
Maybe
right?
Wade Phillips, but consistently Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, so
Jimmy Johnson won 2 Super Bowls.
He almost takes back, he almost takes Jerry to at least where he wants to go as an NFC Championship game. Doesn't do it, but at least he competed to get there. So he's the right guy.
No.
So. All right. Well,
he's not the right guy.
I hadn't heard your side on it though. But let's go on to Mac McClung. He is skipping this year's slam dunk contest as their basically trophy. I would say trophy wife in that sense. Like let's put our shiny toy out there once a year.
I call this one Betsy. This is Lulu.
So, do you think it's a dumb or smart move that he decided he wanted to skip it?
Dumb. That's all he does. Like that's his celebrity. If he wants to keep being, paid and wants to keep being like in the limelight as far as basketball goes, unfortunately, I'm sorry, Mac, the dunk contest is what you do. Like no NBA team is giving you an opportunity because you're a good shooter or you're a good passer or you're a good dribbler. It's your opportunities have come because you can dunk. And he got a lot of hype going into college and a little bit coming out of college, but he's a dunker. And I'm sorry, that's just everybody kind of has their thing they do, and he dunks. So now he's taken himself out of his biggest event of his basketball year.
I don't like it. I would like to see other guys that are actually in the NBA and don't just get signed to a 2-week contract. I don't even think he's in the NBA or the G League right now.
I think he is on a G League contract.
But so, I'm just... Yeah. No. I mean, no, I thought he was playing overseas last year. Like, he went and signed overseas after the dunk contest or something like that.
I know. I think he came back.
But
either way.
I mean, fact check, right?
Well, I don't think he would be invited if he wasn't.
But even so, I don't like the fact that the NBA does this. We'll sign you to a 2-way contract and you can play, or that he has to play a couple games in the NBA. I just don't like that. I don't like the factor behind it. I think there's other guys in the NBA that can soar just as good and have just as big creativity. If he wants to make money doing dunking, there's literally a whole dunking. It's like a long drive. Like the longest drive in golf. Like they have stuff like that for dunking. So he can make way more money. And he's already making way more money from his celebrity of being a kid and everything like that. And I don't like it. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad it was a smart move. And now hopefully we can just get some people in the NBA that actually want to participate in this. Which that's another thing. Why don't they? Why doesn't anyone want to participate in the dunk contest anymore?
Because
I just don't get it.
Because it's become a skeptic. It's not the. It used to be the showcase event of the weekend, but until Steph Curry came along, that slowly went towards everybody wants to see somebody hit the three. So Steph changed that single-handedly on his own.
It's almost like the home run derby.
The three became more exciting than the dunk. And it is solely because of Steph Curry taking the game in that direction where more people get hyped to see someone draining a three from the logo than someone doing a freaking windmill in between their legs, right? And I'm complete opposite. But excuse me while I kiss the sky for a second here. McClung, 2024 G League MVP. This year, his stats, 27.7 points a game, 3 rebounds a game, 7.5 assists a game. His shooting percentage has increased tremendously from this year to last year. He's shooting over 52% this year, over 37% from downtown, over 80% from the free throw line. He's always been an 80% shooter.
Is that this year?
Yeah. So I think what he's trying to do is say, stop labeling me as this one and done guy, and that's all I can contribute. So I think he's actually just sticking to the fact that I can contribute more. He's betting on himself one more time. If he goes ahead and does the slam dunk thing, everything goes back to he's the great dunker. He's a great dunker. He's trying to change that narrative and at least get one decent bag here in his career on maybe a 2 or 3 year contract where he can contribute like what's his name? That played for the Bulls and now he plays for OKC. Caruso.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Alex Caruso. Maybe that kind of status with a little more athleticism, but he can go in there and defend and play hard and give you good minutes. And I think he's just gambling on himself in the right way. So I don't like the fact that he's not trying to be the first man ever to win 4, but I like that he's gambling on himself and saying, I don't want you guys to just call me a dunker anymore. I think I'm more than that.
It's almost like the home run derby, right? Like knowing that like if I've showed you a list of the home run derby, you probably know one guy on there.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't watch baseball, right? Like that's why I always say steroid era was the best era in baseball. Yeah, everyone keeps saying they were cheating, but like steroids weren't illegal in the U.S. Like they weren't illegal as far as I know, right? Like they weren't illegal.
No, anabolic steroids were illegal, which is mostly what like McGuire Sosa and
that's the whole Fauci incident.
Were illegal.
Were illegal.
Well, fuck it. Yeah. Who cares? Bring it back. I'm tired of this shit. Like, bring it back. Slam the needle in your leg and let's go.
Go ahead and shrink your pillows.
No, I mean it was.
But it was the best era. It saved baseball. It saved baseball, like point blank.
But we used to have, and it's just the All-Star game. The All-Star game used to be so much more. That's for baseball, and that's a whole other story. Like how baseball doesn't promote their players at all. I mean, you got your MVP. We had the MVP awards giving out this week, and no one knew until like literally the night after that he was getting his award. Aaron Judge, that is. Mm-hmm. But it's just I'm okay with him skipping out on it. But speaking about like another all-star, I'll let you talk about Luka.
You want me to intro this?
Yeah.
All right. So I've been a big proponent of saying that nobody gives Luka enough credit based on what he's done so far in his career. The guy carried the Mavericks into the NBA Finals. And of course, at that point, he met his match where he just had an awful series and Boston just had too much firepower for them to handle, so they lose to the Celtics. But for a while now, I've been saying Luka's MVP year is coming. Luka's MVP year is coming. It's coming. It's coming. And it hasn't come yet, mostly because of Jokic and now SJ obviously having tremendous years. But Luka has done some incredible things. And my argument is you can make a very decent case that he's the best player of his generation. And I also said, well, maybe we're seeing the same thing with BYU's emergent star right now in Dybantsa. So I don't know if you guys have watched him play much. We were talking about him having that 43 against Texas Tech, arguably the best team they played this year. And he put the team on his back.
Is that the kid that was in G League?
No, that's Dybantsa. That's the freshman sensation out in BYU. They paid freaking $7.5 million for. So he's actually living up to the billing.
Look at BYU go.
That's what I'm saying.
The Mormons are paying.
They're paying. They got money and they're paying. So, I wanted to ask you guys really, do you think, is Dybantsa one of the best freshmen you've seen in a while? I know we just saw Flagg last year. And if yes, or if no, say who yours is. Do you think that Luka's the best player of his generation?
I don't know. Melo was very good. I'm not being biased, but he was...
No, of his generation. Oh, you're talking about freshmen?
You said best freshman.
Yeah.
So, Melo took over and just dominated. I mean, John Wall.
Yeah, that was the one that came to mind for me.
But I mean, John Wall really didn't take over. It was more Boogie. It was
AD.
It was more Boogie.
AD's the one that
won. But Boogie
was freshman and national player of the year.
But Boogie was the one on that team that was like taking all.
Boogie wasn't on that team.
He was on the John Wall team.
No, that was AD's team.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't.
No, your Kentucky teams.
Yeah, AD was after.
No, what I'm trying to say is AD was AD. I thought you were saying that Boogie was on that team.
No. John Wall and Boogie.
Yeah, but that's the thing. John Wall and Boogie.
But those like dynamic duo, like that was like crazy. I mean, you remember that was just like I was like
that's what I'm saying. It's duos and there's duos, right?
But it wasn't like Melo took over and it took over Syracuse and like basically averaged almost 30 points a game. I mean, I think it's just a different game now than it was back then.
43.
I mean, I would say Melo. If I had to put my money on a freshman, I think Melo would take him all day.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he might be like the best freshman in the country right now, and that's debatable too because of Boozer. But yeah, there's like I said, John Wall was the first one that came to mind, and I get it, he had Boogie, but still, Wall changed. It seemed to change the culture of Kentucky when the real one and done freshmen really started, superstars really started. And I mean, I'm sure there's some guys. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but there's some Duke guys that I might take over him. As far as Luka goes, Luka, and this is just me trying to get some context in it. Where exactly would you draw the line at his generation?
What are you talking about?
So
he's in this current generation. He's only like
like you said, his draft class.
Yeah, what ages
I would
are
say probably a year to two before he was drafted.
Okay, so we're leaving like a Giannis or a Jokic, guys like that out. Yeah, I would probably for Luka. I would probably say there's no one that really comes to mind immediately from that sort of time period in the league that I would put over Luka. I'm just getting sick of hearing, oh, this is the year Luka's going to win the MVP, and this is the year he's going to win the MVP, and this is like, okay, at some point you're either going to win it or you're not. Stop talking about it, and let's just see what happens. But yeah, I can't say that there's anybody that comes to mind for Luka that I really would put over him at this point. That's
not Luka's fault. That's someone else's. I mean,
no, I'm not saying it's Luka's fault. I'm saying all these people that keep hyping Luka up, like, oh, this is the year he wins.
But he's put up MVP type numbers. It's just they have a narrative, and when they stick on their narrative, that guy ended up winning. Like Joker, like SGA. I mean, SGA was part of Luka's draft class, so he was picked 11th by the Hornets.
Then they traded him to the Clippers.
And then they traded him to the Thunder.
So I mean Dante DiVincenzo. That's the best one right there.
Porter Jr. obviously had some deep runs with
Denver.
I
refuse to admit that any Villanova player is better.
Grayson Allen's in there.
Shut up.
So let me give you guys a little something to
Jalen Brunson.
A little more food for thought here. So Dybantsa became the first D1 freshman in 30 years to record 9 straight 20-point games while shooting at least 50% from the field. And he's not how Psycho T was, where most of the shots are coming within 10 feet. He's shooting from all over the floor. So the guy is highly skilled. He's not just a one-dimensional kind of guy. On top of that, 43 points. That's big time. Only 2 players in the Big 12, that's Trae Young and Michael Beasley, scored more than him as a freshman. And those 2 names were a big deal when they were in school, and Trae Young and Michael Beasley, right?
Oh, yes.
So, and then when they came out, people expected a lot from these 2 guys, and obviously they were drafted top 5, and there's a lot of talk about them being dominant players, and we know what happened with Beasley and Trae Young is kind of fizzled out now. All right, here's where I think people will always sleep on Luka, and to me, it's like, here's why I'm a big Luka guy. I know people say he can't play defense and he's one-dimensional. Okay, fair enough. You can say that all you want. Only one player in NBA history has maintained a career average of at least 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. While several players have achieved these numbers in a single season, only Luka has sustained this elite stat over his entire career.
Well, I think you're talking about like 2 different things right now.
The only other person tied with 5 such seasons with those numbers is the big O, Oscar Robertson, who is considered a freaking anomaly of his generation because how well he could play in any in any point in any place on the court. The problem is he's a defensive liability. That's always going to stick out for him. His game's not complete. You know who else is a defensive liability? LeBron James in the finals. Go ahead, all you freaking bronzesexuals, and check the stats out, okay? Everybody he ever guarded in the finals had the freaking, had the freaking series of their life, okay? Including one, Jason Terry, who jumped by 10 points on his season average when Braun was guarding him in the finals. So if we're going to knock people down for not being great on both sides of the floor, then I can't take that as an argument standpoint as why you don't want to put Luka up there.
But I think you're talking about two different things. So Jamie's, let me just clarify for everyone. Jamie's talking about, is Luka the best of his generation? Dybantsa is the best freshman
that we've seen.
We've seen in college basketball.
Yeah.
I think you're combining both of them because you made it seem like it was like both, like who's better, those two. So he's talking about two different topics, two different discussions. But I don't know. I mean, I it's always strange to me because I don't see Luka because of all the media non-hype that he gets. And then when he got traded to LA, now it's all like Luka, like he was a rookie again. So, I mean, SGA's up there, but he's just so damn dominant. Like Luka's just consistent. It took SGA at least 4 or 5 years to get to. Luka's kept this consistency for the last, since he's been in the league. So I have to say Luka is probably, but I don't take this. I don't even know how to say his name. Is it Dybantsa?
Yeah.
So there's been other freshmen.
Thank you for that stat, Peacock. The team with the best scoring margin in the second half this year in college basketball, BYU.
Yeah, because they bought other players, man. Stop buying players. All right, so we'll be here for Pro Bowl Thursday here on Cinco Squad. So make sure you guys turn in on Thursday, and we'll see you guys here later this week.